Hello, traders. Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, February 9th, 2025. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we're looking at slowing momentum with transports, real estate, communications, and financials staying strong, with the remaining 9 sectors a bit overbought and susceptible to some consolidation. That leaves us with 3 bullish indicators, 13 neutral, and 4 bearish to start Monday trading. Therefore, let's start off with a bit of caution and see where the markets lead us this week. Most of last week, we pointed out the potential for a rejection on Friday, like the previous 2 Fridays, leading to lower highs and a bearish bias to start Monday trading. Unless something changes at this point, momentum has slowed, MACD is pushing lower, and stochastics is stalling. The same can be said for the Qs. 100 stocks on average, we're putting in lower highs. We'll start off Monday trading with a bearish bias. Previous daily high and low on Friday, indicating we could test the 50-day, most likely will. RSI is dropping. Volume picked up. That's the 3rd distribution day in the last 6 trading days, with momentum slowing on MACD and stochastic. The same can be said for the small caps. One of the reasons why I decided to put on an iron condor, with the price action staying between the red horizontal lines, looking for maybe a fade back to that lower trend line of this triangular shape pattern, as RSI shows the strength of the trend back to 50% and MACD with a lower high. At the same time, the number of stocks on a point and figure buy signal on the New York Stock Exchange Composite did make a higher low, trying to make a higher high, with the New York Stock Exchange Composite at a double top. So it just looks like momentum is slowing, and we could see some consolidation this week. The same can be said for breadth, as new highs and new lows are about neutral. The New York Stock Exchange high-low is above 0, so that's still bullish. Advanced decline is at a double top, just neutral and consolidating, while the index itself produces blue elder sticks, just telling us to look for a pause to start the week. The S&P equal weight also showing a bit of weakness, consolidating for the past 2.5 weeks, right at the 50-day moving average, with the number of stocks above the 20 days still fading. This is actually setting up for a bullish bounce, with the number of stocks above the 50-day in the lower panel back to 50%. So if we see these turn back up and breadth improves, we'll see these momentum indicators turn back up. Until then, it just looks like we're consolidating the recent gains from the previous couple of weeks. Therefore, unless something changes, we'll start with a neutral stance on Monday. That leaves us with the New York FANG components at a triple top, rejected at highs. We're looking for some leadership. So these are mostly fading through earnings, with the exception of Meta, that remains at all-time highs. Volume shows institutions have been buying the stock, and momentum is still very bullish. The same can be said for Netflix and Nvidia. The rest are fading, so we need to see improvement in the likes of Apple, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. If you're bearish, look for weakness to persist this week in these stocks. Last week, we made mention of the 10-year yield that started to drop below 4.5%. It bounced on Friday. If you're bullish equities, you want to see the 10-year yield continue to move lower. This is risk premium, and below 4.5% is considered an area where we could start to see the markets lean toward equities. Unfortunately, this is giving us a cautious to bearish signal. especially if it bounces and breaks above these downtrends noted in the previous two occasions. That could further exacerbate the overbought conditions and equities could pull back a bit. In addition, junk bonds move back below the 50-day and therefore are neutral, along with the dollar, which bounced right at the 50-day. If you're bullish equities, you want to see this move lower. In addition, if you're trading gold and are still long, you want the dollar to move lower, with crude oil products moving lower, back below the 50-day moving average, along with commodities. As these move sideways, commodities are telling you to be neutral. If these start to spike and move higher, that would be bearish for equities. For now, we're neutral. Copper, a leading economic indicator, moving higher. We had a 20-50-day cross a couple of weeks ago. This is bullish for the economy. So with many sectors overbought, it just looks like we could be seeing some rotation into financials, real estate, along with the communications sector, which is at highs, and transports. With a 20-50-day cross, we're looking for transports to move back up towards the highs. So watch the truckers, airlines, the rails, and maritime shippers. With the remaining sectors consolidating near the 20 or 50-day moving averages, with the best case scenario, price action remains in a sideways range, as these stronger sectors capturing our focus to start the week. Affirm Holdings is a good example. It beat expectations last time around, with earnings growth of 215% and revenue growth of 46.6%. The stock is breaking out of a consolidation that started back in December, lasted through most of January into February. With volume picking up, MACD and stochastics rising, Affirm looks very strong, and earnings support a continuation from the breakout last week. RSI is rising. Futu Holdings, new on the IBD 50, breaking above pivots, indicating that we could see a follow-through, volume picking up, MACD and stochastics rising. RSI is pointing upward as well, showing strength of trend, with the company reporting earnings out in the second week of March. Centered in technology with respect to the financial industry, we know that financials have been strong. We'll look for Futu to continue this week. Gambling.com, this one started off with the stock bouncing on Monday, followed through all week. Volume picked up, MACD and stochastics rising, with the company reporting February 20th. Good metrics, looks very strong. Digital marketing products and services, exclusively in the online gambling industry. Earnings growth of 78.6% and revenue growth of 37%. Volume and momentum indicate that we could see a follow-through. Hims and Hers on the watch list for the last couple of weeks. A bit overbought now. Looking for a consolidation or a range here at highs for a better entry. If we do get a pullback to the 9 and 21 day, that would be the best situation if you don't already have a position and you're thinking about getting into Hims, as the company leads into earnings on the 24th towards the end of the month. Decent earnings growth and revenue growth. It's just the earnings surprise last time around was a miss. Overall, Hims and Hers looks pretty good though. Just needed some consolidation. The brokerages in the financial sector also very strong. Robinhood, IBKR, Charles Schwab, Raymond James, many of them continuing this bullish trend. Looking for a continuation with the 20-day and 50-day both pointing up and to the right. Volume indicating institutions have been picking up shares since late October into November as the stock broke out. That said, the company does report on February 12th, so be aware of it. Earnings growth and revenue growth are positive, but earnings surprise and revenue surprise were a bit disappointing. Supermicro reports this week on Tuesday, looking for a continuation in this upward movement. As many people have realized, BlackRock and Vanguard have been picking up shares, accumulating over the last few weeks, with Vanguard holding 10.16% of the shares and BlackRock holding 5.17%. Mutual funds increasing their holdings as well, looking for Supermicro to continue through earnings and beyond. Sprouts Farmers Markets, this one has been strong over the last couple of weeks, therefore it has been on the watch list. MACD, momentum, clearly bullish. Accumulation shows institutions have been picking up shares over the last few weeks. RSI showing muscle. Now we're currently looking for price action to consolidate, potentially give us a little dip to get in if we don't already have a position, as many stocks from this sector are very strong. Switching sectors, we have been seeing strength in some of the restaurateurs like Kava, 20-50-day cross on Friday. Even though the price action did dip a bit, we're looking for an entry on Kava. And fast food restaurants like McDonald's, looking for this price action we saw on Thursday and Friday to continue. If there is an indication this week, we might try something on McDonald's. Many of the small nuclear device companies like Oklo continued higher last week. We're looking for that strength to continue. Volume shows institutions have been picking up shares over the last few weeks, along with strength in SMR. NewScale Power, looking for price action to break out of this consolidation and start a continuation over the next few weeks. Palantir continued last week. Many people don't like the company. With strong funding from the government through its contracts and intelligence routes, the company is expanding, continuing to push higher, looking for this elusive company to continue growing its earnings and revenue. With deep ties to the government and growing private sector adoption of its proprietary software and unique business model, making it a polarizing but intriguing stock, especially in the AI boom. Many of the insurance stocks also looking good. Root Insurance, been on the IBD 50 past 6 months or so. Looking for a Root and other insurance companies to continue, unless there is some government intervention and the cost of insurance expanding as much as it has over the last couple of years. Big banks like Wells Fargo continued to thrust higher. A new one on the IBD 50, SNEX Financial Services at highs, following through after a breakout of a base that started back in December with above average volume on the breakout. Momentum is clearly bullish and RSI is showing muscle. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, February the 9th, 2025. I will send out a watch list later tonight around 12 midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast, so be sure to check your inbox for that. Otherwise, enjoy the Super Bowl, and we'll see you in the morning. Take care.